Record indicate it is now 5 p.m. and the Warwick City Council Finance Committee is called to order. Need a motion for acceptance of the minutes on December 3rd.
Move for favorable action.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 216-231, State Rhode Island lamps, ballast related electrical supplies. Christy?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Department's requesting to extend the expiration to October 31st, 2019 and increase the cap $20,000 for a total of $90,000.
And the purpose for increasing the cap?
We have expended nearly all of the $70,000 that was awarded back in 2016.
Back in 2016?
Yes, January of 2016.
And that approximately $70,000 was spent how?
Well, it's for electrical supplies, light bulbs, things like
Just
that.
street lights and that?
No, it's for buildings.
For buildings?
Yes, for replacing light bulbs, replacing ballast, replacing, any sort of wiring work that needs to be done for the electrician, things like that.
Which buildings would we be talking about?
This covers Thayer McDermott, the city buildings that building maintenance is responsible for, as well as the ball field, the light bulbs for the ball fields, and anything the electrician would need to do, our city electrician.
Okay, so you're looking for an extension and an increase of 20.
Yes.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quick, so with that, under city responsibility, that also Cooper Building falls under that as well?
Yes, it would.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from, sir?
And just to point out that the reason why this bid expired on the 31st, but you're coming to us now, is because it's piggybacking and the state did not make it available until November 7th. So thank you for including that in the package.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 2017-045, found on page 11, rescue service billing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Brian Sylvia, Finance Director. As mentioned, this item is a 612 to alter the contract to extend it for 3 months from 1/1/19 to 3/31/19. This is an request to increase the award by $22,500. This bid has been held up a few times for a few 3-month extensions. It was the wish of the Finance Department to get a handle on the outstanding receivable of the funds outstanding. So we have the number, an unaudited amount through June 30. And we've continued that through November 30th of the current year. So we have a good handle on our receivable, and we're going to be moving to go out to bid on this contract in the near future. We're looking to extend for another 3 months to allow for that.
So, Brian, you say that you have a good handle on, excuse me, the receivables.
Yes.
So how about a plan for collecting the receivables?
That's what we have to put into the RFP, but we wanted to know what we were dealing with first. We wanted to know what the number was, and then in terms of the number, how much of that was within the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120, et cetera. So we wanted to get a good handle on, first get the number and reconcile the number, and then get a aging for it. So now we're going to prepare the RFP accordingly.
Any questions from members of the committee? Sir.
And when we do send this out and get the information, this will be a revenue generating source for the city. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. To that point, I believe the budget for this year is $2.9 million for this.
What was that again, Brian?
The budget in the general fund for this this revenue is $2.9 million within the current fiscal year.
And Brian, once you have those numbers validated, could you just forward them to the Finance Committee?
I can send that tomorrow.
Okay, great, thanks. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
2018-167A. Found on, excuse me, page 20. And before we go on, hold on, Chrissy, just one moment. Before we go on, just so members of the committee and members of the council know, I have reviewed with the council liaison all of the numbers and all of the bid requests, and there are adequate monies in all those accounts. The documents are right here if you want to see them, so we don't necessarily have to go through every single one of them. Okay, Christie, 2018-167A.
The department's requesting to extend the award for this bid till February 17, 2019, and increase the cap $137,500. This cap actually also includes the 2 bids that are following.
Okay, so just for clarification, 167A, 167C, and 168 are all in one item, and what you're asking to do is, at the request of the Finance Committee at the previous meeting, we had asked that these 3 items go back out for rebid, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and we also extended the contract for a period of time at that previous meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the purchasing department has asked that we do this resolution to get it on the record that essentially these three contracts, and Matt, feel free to step up and make any correction. These 3 contracts, at the request of the Finance Committee, we withdrew it, asked you to go back out for bid, and we also extended the contracts on those items. In essence, what these 3 bid requests are now, 167A, 167C, and 168, is because you've reached out to the vendors, they agreed to an extension of 90 days. In actuality is what we're talking about. That's what we're approving now. All we're approving is strictly the extension of the expired contract, if we say. Okay? Everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
Christie, any questions?
No.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee, council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none. Excuse me, I need a vote on one. Say what? Yeah, I'm going to do them separately. On 167A.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're just going to make a note here on the sheet. It grants a 90-day extension on contracts. Okay, 167C. You get the same issue. Need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Contract has been extended for 90 days. Not from the current meeting, from the previous meeting. And on 2018-168, same issue, a 90-day extension from the previous council meeting. I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Christie. 2019-174.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Good
committee.
evening, Chief. That is found on page 52. Go ahead, Chief.
Just trying to fix this mic. The Warwick Fire Department has reviewed bid 2019-174 Custom Tandem Axle Walk-In Heavy Rescue. After thoroughly reviewing the 2 bids, The Warwick Fire Department recommends the bid be awarded to Greenwood Emergency Vehicles of North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Greenwood was the lowest qualified bidder and meets all the bid requirements. This past August, after multiple attempts, the Warwick Fire Department was awarded a 2017 Assistance to Firefighters grant for a new tandem axle walk-in heavy rescue vehicle. This vehicle will replace a 25-year-old vehicle. This award is for 90% funded with a 10% co-share. The total award is for $633,789. The city's share is $63,378. The months following this award, the bid specification was finalized. The specification was a result of many hours of research, troubleshooting that took place over a period of 3 years. Multiple department members contacted vendors, contractors, product specialists, and other fire departments in order to design a truck that meets both our current needs and future needs. Address the defects and concerns with our current truck, all while keeping the cost at a minimum. This meant that the specifications must have a few no exceptions criteria listed within the specifications to preserve these important concerns. Some examples of these include a loaner vehicle program, galvanization of frame rails, cross members, and other components, hydraulic-driven generator, and specific rear suspension components. After completing the specifications, members met with the head of the automotive division. During this meeting, valuable information was shared amongst the parties. We have been encouraged to inquire about the cost in terms of multiple extended warranty plans that may be available. After reviewing these plans submitted, and again consulting with the head of the automotive division, we found a great value in extended warranty for the Cummins diesel engine. The cost to extend the factory warranty from 5 years to 10 years and a mileage from 100,000 to 200,000 is extremely valuable at $2,368. This expense is a great investment to protect a new motor, which is valued over $30,000. The final most important review process of the bids received was to identify the no exceptions criteria. Through this review, it has been determined that Greenwood Emergency Vehicles met all the mandatory no exceptions criteria in their proposal. The New England Fire Apparatus Spartan did not meet these mandatory no exceptions in their proposal. Because of this combined cost of $703,651 of the base price of $701,283 plus the extended engine warranty of $2,368, Greenwood Emergency Vehicles has proven to meet all specifications while being the lowest price. With the extended engine warranty, the total amount approved, if approved, to be $703,651. The 2017 FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant will be received at $633,789,000. Leaves the remaining balance above the award amount of $69,862 for, and that'll be in FY 2020. There's no current bid in place for this. This is a one-time purchase. Budget code has been set up for this, 38811, and there's zero funds in that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Let me start off by saying thank you to you as well as your colleagues on the fire department for your efforts in working towards this, this FEMA grant. I also want to extend that same thank yous to Mayor Solomon for stepping in and expediting the acquiring of these funds as well. So that certainly was a major help in getting this to completion. I know that the fire department had been working on it for a long time. Does this grant have any term limits? Excuse me.
Actually, I have with me tonight Lieutenant Scott Jensen. He was one of the writers of the bid of the grant, and he can answer all technical questions on grant and the vehicle itself, if you would.
Sure. If you would, come to the mic, identify yourself for the record, please.
Lieutenant Scott Jensen.
Scott, you need to keep the mic close.
Okay.
It's not a good situation. All right, so any time limits on the grant?
Yes, sir, there are. It has a one-year period of performance, which began on August 23rd of this year and expires August 22nd of next year. So currently, we are about almost just over 4 months into this period of performance.
And it expires when?
August 22nd of 2019.
2019. So did this go from the time that the grant was awarded? Because it was just awarded in August.
Yes, it was awarded in August. It went out to bid on October 18th.
So meaning that the vehicle has to be ordered by August 2019.
So the period of performance would include the bid specification, receiving the RFPs, awarding the bid, purchasing the vehicle, and receiving the vehicle. Because it is a construction, they do tend to go over their period of performance, but not too, only within a few months. We've been in touch with the FEMA regional specialist we deal with, who has encouraged us to have a contract signed by January 1st. It takes roughly 365 days to build this vehicle.
So how are you going to meet the criteria of August 2019?
At this time, we will not be able to meet that, but what normally happens with these is we submit an amendment.
Okay.
And the training that I went through, they talk about this and the time frame it takes for the vendors to build the vehicle. They are aware that it does go over the period of performance, but they do have certain criteria on when you actually award the contract.
And why does it take a year to get a rescue? Why can't we just get a rescue sooner than that?
Great question. So this vehicle, this is a heavy rescue. This is what we call a special hazards vehicle. And the current vehicle we have has one axle on it. The one we have identified as two axles to accommodate the amount of equipment and the weight carrying capacity that the vehicle can handle. Very few, if any, vendors actually have a demo vehicle on the lot that meets the specification. Unlike an engine or a ladder where sometimes you can find one that's on the lot or that's coming off the line, these are custom built trucks. Typically, it can range from 300 days to over 400. And right now the vendor is saying around 365 days to build that. This is from a piece of aluminum all the way to a finished vehicle at the end.
And that time frame, that's partly because of the specifications that you've put on the vehicle and in some cases no exceptions to the vehicle.
No, actually not.
That's not going to extend the delivery time?
No, it will not. From the contacts, the discussion we had with the vendor about the criteria that we set forward, we're pretty bare bones basic. We've taken a lot of the additional items that would normally be added. We're going with strictly items that are needed and items that are addressing current issues that we've had for a while. So nothing was added to this to prolong the time period to build it. Right now, what I was told was any vehicle of this type, a heavy rescue, is about 365 days.
Okay. And I notice in the package it has a requirement of completing the acceptance of award. Has that been done?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
We had 30 days from the time of
Okay.
award notification.
And something that I found confusing is on page 61 in our binders anyways, it has a Warwick Fire Department grant, or it says Warwick Fire Department, the grantee. It's got a DUNS number, et cetera. It has an amount of $697,167 vehicle acquisition. What is that number? What does that mean?
Great. That is the total award that the federal government is allowing us. That involves a federal share of 90% and a co-share of 10%. So the federal share, I believe, was 600. $633,789. And if you add the city's 10% share, it would be $63,378.
So that's
which would give you
including the city's share?
that. Correct.
Okay, it's not like the grant from FEMA was 697, okay,
No, we are required to pay that 10%.
okay.
That's why they put it in there.
Well, you know, I've said right along that I'm a supporter of a rescue because it is a money-generating piece of equipment. But there are some things here that I'm concerned with, and I'll open it to questions in a minute. One of the things I'm concerned with is a prepayment of $150,000. That is kind of just bizarre to me. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. The other thing is the grant, excuse me, the grant is for $633,000, and the fire department is looking for as much as $703,000, another $70,000 beyond the grant. And when I think of some of the other rescues that we've approved in the past, they were significantly less than $700,000 and less than $633,000. So I've got troubles with that. And I also have problems with your specs, as you say, being extremely tight, and are also showing no exceptions. And I think that may have had an impact on the cost of the vehicle. I have no problem with buying it. Chief, you can shake your head no. I'm giving you my opinion. If you disagree with it, that's okay.
Whenever I can answer your questions, sure. Yep.
Right now, I'm not asking questions. I'm just making statements as to how I view this. And I think that it would behoove us to, well, again, no problem buying a rescue. It's about numbers. It's about some of the terms. It's about some of the specifications that are outlined in this. I think that it would behoove us to make a recommendation to hold this item until the second meeting in January, and recommend that the fire department meet with the administration and the two bidders on these vehicles and see if the number can work at $633,000. That's what I'd like to see. Because if we can save the $70,000 on this, then, you know, we may be able to use $70,000 for another piece of equipment. So that's how I'm viewing this. I think it would behoove us to put that out there, that the fire department meet with the administration, the mayor, and the vendors, the two bidders, and have us a conversation about the numbers, about the $150,000, and also the one-year term.
I have answers to all those questions if you'd like to hear them, sir.
You can comment on them, Chief. Again, with all due respect, I wasn't asking questions. I was simply making statements.
Okay.
But if you'd like to comment on those,
Yes,
fine.
I would.
Please.
So there are a lot of them there, so if I miss one, please let me know. The first one is the terminology of the vehicle. It's a heavy rescue. That's what FEMA classifies, like an engine and a pumper, an aerial and a ladder. So this is the special hazards vehicle. It's not an ambulance. So it's a heavy rescue. It carries jaws of life and a whole bunch of other equipment and trained personnel on it. As far as the grant, the $150,000 down payment is actually, if you look at the cost, the breakdown.
I've seen it. I'm aware of it.
So that $150,000 is up to 25% of the federal share we are allowed to prepay. By prepaying that, we've asked the vendor to disclose what the savings would be to the city. That money will be, if approved, would be cut to the vendor at the time of the contract, and then we would request it back in reimbursement. For about 2 weeks, it's 100% match. We would get that $150,000 back. If the Finance Committee chooses not to do that, then it would be a savings that we would not get, and that $4,500 would be added to the cost of the vehicle.
That's if this stays the way it is now.
Correct. And to answer your next question, you mentioned the $633,000 if we can buy one for that price. So we are required to pay 10% of whatever the total is, not going over the 697, the total. So for example, if we went out to bid and a vehicle came in at 500, we would be required to pay 10% of the 500. We would not be able to take $633,000 from the federal government and not pay our $70 or $63,000. It would not happen. It's just the way that they work. They've all worked the same way.
Okay.
As far as the no exceptions in the bid specification, every single one of those is tied to a long-term defect or issue that we have with the vehicle. We have frame rails and subframe components that have rotted out, which is why we've asked for galvanized components. We've met with different vendors, we've met with different fire departments, and we've also met with the city repair division to address that. We've been through three generators in the current vehicle. Currently it's out of service, and the third generator would have to be put in. That's about $10,000. This vehicle has a more expensive, better generator that does not have these issues. The generator that's on the vehicle now is underneath the vehicle. It's in a poor location. It gets salt, water, and everything in there. It corrodes, and they constantly have issues with them. So that's why the rear end on this vehicle, the suspension, within the first 6 months of having the current vehicle, in 2006, the rear axle separated from the body. It was shipped back to Michigan to be repaired. After about 4 or 5 years, there were more problems with it. They took the airbag suspension out of it and put leaf springs in it.
Chief, excuse me, I understand all of that. So what I'm suggesting is that we hold this until the second meeting in January. I think I can live with the first meeting in January. And for the fire department to get together with the administration and the two vendors and talk about the cost of this vehicle and what's included.
Yes.
Do you see any disadvantage to doing that if we can save money for the taxpayers and get you what you need?
100% agree that we should do everything to save money for the taxpayers, and we've identified that by the prepayment. We have met with the mayor multiple times. We met with the city's repair division to identify any warranties or any issues that we should be steering away from, and they've put their recommendation in, so we have had that in our best interest the entire time.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Sir.
On the no exceptions part, can you just break that down to explain within the things that you write as no exceptions? How's that break out?
As far as each individual item?
Well, not each, but overall, what does that mean?
So overall, we've done the research through vendors and fire departments and specialists to say, this is the problem we have. For example, subframe components. Those are the cross braces and all the subframe components underneath the vehicle. This is our problem. With a vehicle that was about 7 years old, they've rotted out. We've had to send the vehicle out for 3 months. It was documented for over 6 years. It took 3 months to send the vehicle out to have them repaired, and the repairs are subpar, but it's what we're living with. How can we stop that from happening? And they said, well, there's an option. You can add this to it, which is galvanized treating those components which normally aren't galvanized. So we said, that's perfect. We talked to the repair division. They said, that's what you should be doing. So we did that. The generator, how do we stop this generator from constantly being repaired and replaced 3 times for a generator that's about $10,000? Okay, you have to go to this other type of generator. It's hydraulic. It gets mounted on the top of the truck. It runs differently. It's more money, but it's the better way to go. And in the long term, it's going to save us money from all the repairs that we're not considering in here. The rear suspension, the truck was sent out for just under 11 months back to Michigan. It was repaired, but down the road we had more issues because it was an air ride suspension and there's a lot of equipment on the vehicle. It's over 15,000 pounds of equipment alone on it. How do we fix this? So we looked into a suspension that we have on Ladder 2, and it's a military grade suspension that goes on fire apparatus and heavy vehicles, and even the repair division says this is what you should be putting in. We have it right now. They have no issues with it, and it's been in service for about 6 years. So we've identified that because we didn't want someone to come in and say, let's go with a leaf spring suspension. Well, we still have problems with it. It's causing cracks all over the current truck. We have cracks on the frame rails for the cab and chassis. So identifying those, I understand what it looks like, but we're trying to identify the problems that we keep sinking money into, and we're putting our guys at risk, and we want to stop those from happening. And this is the biggest way to save the money and stop these issues from happening.
So you're using the experience from previous things to put them in, and then when you put no exceptions, it means it has to be included in their bid. So this is the specific thing that you want, those things that you laid out. That's why they had to include that. That's what the no exceptions.
Correct.
Okay. And then can you just break down the difference between a heavy rescue and like the rescue that we purchased a couple months ago? Was that not a heavy rescue?
Correct. That's
Correct.
a
So
medical rescue in ambulance. So our terminology is a little different than FEMA. FEMA would call that an ambulance. This would be called a heavy rescue. So this one would carry the jaws of life, all the stabilization equipment, everything that we would use to break force entry into a building, stabilize heavy trucks on the highway, hazmat-related items. It's all the other side of the fire department, non-EMS. So this will not, we do not transport patients in it.
That was my question.
Yes, we don't transport patients in it. It doesn't have, we do perform EMS capabilities just like every other fire apparatus in the city, but we do not transport patients to the hospital. In FEMA's terminology, this is a rescue service as far as we're going in to rescue civilians in a different capacity. So it's rapid intervention, people trapped, civilians trapped, all the equipment we carry for that.
Okay. So they will not be bringing people to the hospital in this vehicle? They will not. Okay. And then the grant requires 10% from the city. So whether it was $100,000 or $500, up to $600 or whatever the number was, but we are responsible for 10%.
That is correct.
And then break down that prepayment again that we get back.
Yes.
Can you break that down for me?
So the prepayment in the guidance that we follow and the training that I went through after receiving the award, we are allowed to accept, to request up to 25% of the federal share. So 25% of $633,370 is roughly $158,000. So when we put this together, not knowing what the bids were going to be, we got as close as we figured it where it may come and said $150,000. So the way it would work is, if this was awarded, we would sign a contract with the vendor. We would give them a check for $150,000. At the same time, that contract needs to go to FEMA so they can approve the contract. There's a few clauses they need to have in there, which we will make sure are in there. As long as they're there, they approve that contract and they send the $150,000 back out to us. It's 100% reimbursable, and it would come off of the federal share. And roughly those payments take anywhere up to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. So it's an easy way to save $4,500 at the end of the day.
On that. And then you're also looking for the warranty. It gets us an extra 100,000, covers an extra 100,000 miles on that. And what else does it cover in the generally the warranty?
Generally, it extends 5-year, 100,000 to 10-year, 200,000. And speaking with the repair division, they said that they see these engines sometimes having problems after 5 years, and one warranty claim can be about $1,700. So for the price of it, seeing it's a $30,000 engine, they thought it was a great deal to protect that engine. As far as what it covers, I don't know.
And that was about 2,000. What was the
300 and
2368? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, for an extra 5 years of coverage and another 100,000 miles.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, excuse me 1 second. So, Chief, on the vehicle that, excuse me, Councilman, that you were just speaking to Councilman McAllister about, and the problems with this and with that, and taking that and making the changes in the new vehicle, these problems that you're speaking about in this vehicle, is this the vehicle that this new rescue is going to be replacing?
So this one would replace a 25-year-old vehicle that we have that has over 200 and...
But my question is that the vehicle you were just speaking to about the problems? That's my question.
That vehicle would be going to hazards too. That would be our reserve truck when this one has problems.
Let me rephrase the question. The vehicle that you were just speaking to Councilman McAllister about about the frame and the problem and this and that and the generator, et cetera. Is that the vehicle you're talking about replacing?
Yes.
Okay. So this vehicle that you're talking about lasted and serviced this city for 25 years, correct?
No, sir.
It didn't?
This
You just said
vehicle
it's
is-
25 years old.
So the grant requires us to remove a vehicle from service, and the vehicle that's being removed from service is 25 years old. That is our reserve truck now. The frontline vehicle is the one that would be going to reserve because of the issues we have and the amount of storage space and everything. That would only be used when the new vehicle is out of service, getting maintained. So the vehicle that's being replaced was from June of 2005, I'm sorry, January of '06 is when it first went in service.
So I just asked two questions. I asked the first question was the vehicle that you're going to replace the vehicle you were speaking to with these issues. And these issues is what led to some of these other items in this new rescue. And you said yes. And I asked you if that was the vehicle that was 25 years old. And you said yes.
I'm sorry, I was confused. I wanted to make sure that the point was across that we are required by accepting this grant to replace and get rid of the what we currently call Special Hazards 2, which is the 25-year-old vehicle. The purchase of this vehicle will run as Special Hazards 1, which is the 2005 vehicle that we are having these issues with.
The 25-year-old vehicle that you allude to in your documents is the vehicle we're going to be replacing, because that's what you said in here.
In a roundabout way.
Correct, in a roundabout way.
But
I believe.
Sir, but it's not.
Chief,
It's
go
not.
ahead.
It is the one we're going to replace, but it's not the one we're going to put out the pasture. So it's going to be put in a reserve status and not carry as much equipment.
My point is, in the presentation to this committee, you said in here, the vehicle that this new rescue is going to be replacing is a 25-year-old vehicle. Did you not say that?
Yes.
Okay. And
So
the problems that the assistant chief,
lieutenant. He's a lieutenant.
It's what, please?
He's a lieutenant.
Okay, lieutenant.
He took the promotion
Okay.
though. He was.
Were regarding the 25-year vehicle. So, listen, everybody is entitled to their vote, entitled to do and say whatever they want to say. What I'm suggesting is that for the sake of 3 weeks, the fire department, the mayor and the administration meet with the vendors and see if we can work closer to the number of the grant. And the grant was $633,000. And I don't imagine why anyone would object to doing that, to see if there is something we can do to provide you with the piece of equipment that you're looking for and provide the taxpayers with a savings. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not sure how the bid system works, if we're allowed to do that, and if we're going to make changes to allow a different product without the other people that was sent the bid or didn't bid.
So I guess when you meet with the administration, I believe the administration would speak to that. Yes? No?
I just don't know the process with that. But we did meet with the mayor on this. I mean, he did have involvement from the get-go on this. So,
Chief of Staff here? He is not here.
Sir, you mentioned again the trying to come in as close to the grant as possible. So as long as we're on the same page, the entire award for the grant, the city's share and the federal, is $697,167. I believe the additional amount that we're asking over the city's share is $4,116 over that. That's all.
The numbers that I see, Lieutenant, are $703,000 versus $633,000. Those are the numbers I see. That's a $70,000 difference.
Sir, I understand that. The 633 is the federal share. You have to put in the city's share to that.
I got it.
We
I understand it.
We can't take the funds and not pay our share. There will be problems.
I understand the numbers.
Okay, as long as you understand.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the committee?
Please, very quickly.
Let me just start off by saying, good evening, Chief, and Lieutenant, thank you. The time that you put into this and the diligence, I appreciate it. I truly do. I will say that I do agree with the chairman that to keep the tradition going that this mayor has done, and I don't doubt that you've spoken to the mayor, but I know that the chairman going over the numbers and everything, and I do understand that the city is required to put in the 10%. So no matter what the amount, whether it be the 600,000, 50,000, 700,000, we're required to put in either the 50,000, 70,000, or 60,000 to that. But I don't have a problem, or I don't see an issue holding it for the time being. So I'll start with that. But I do have some questions. This vehicle is being customized, Lieutenant. Does that mean that it's unique throughout the entire state? Are we going to be the only holders of this vehicle?
It would be our vehicle. There are other vehicles similar to it throughout the state, Providence, Cranston, that have some. They're all, Cranston just received a new one. Providence is looking at going for a new one as well. So there are some throughout the state.
So if there was a situation where they needed the stabilizer vehicle, or whether they needed the or anything like that, and they called us, would that be a reimbursable fee back to the city, or is that...
At this time, I would say no.
Okay.
It really depends on what type of call and if insurance is used or not.
Because the system is, it's different from a rescue, let's say.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Not the vehicle, the billing itself.
The billing itself,
yes.
Yes,
is different from rescue.
Yes. We do normally respond mutually to other companies with this vehicle, or other cities, to provide a service as well.
Okay. So the Cranston does have one unique to this, like similar to this vehicle. Cranston
Correct.
does have.
Yes.
Okay.
Then they all call them special hazards.
Okay.
Yeah, Cranston, Providence.
And you said something about a loaner vehicle program. Could you just tell me at the very beginning of the presentation?
Yes. So when we met with the mayor, one of his big concerns was having a program available that if the vehicle's down, or even right now while the vehicle's being built, that we can receive a vehicle from the vendor as a loaner to replace an engine or a ladder truck, or even this vehicle if it were to go down. So we put in that we wanted a loaner vehicle program, and then in a follow-up to both vendors, I sent an email asking them to describe it, what the process was, and they both did that.
I think you just answered the two follow-up questions with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Lieutenant. Mr.
You're
Chief.
welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. Chief, Lieutenant, sorry. So how many special hazards vehicles do we have in the city now?
That are currently manned 24/7 is one. We have the frontline vehicle, which is a 2005. There's a reserve, which is a 1992. Those are the two the front line and the reserve. We have another one that we label as Special Hazards 3 that tows a trailer. It's a pickup truck. But as far as the capacity of this vehicle, that's the only one is the 2005.
I didn't ask for the capacity of this vehicle here in this book. I asked how many hazard vehicles do we have in the city? Is it one? Is it two? Is it three? How many is it?
It's one front line with one reserve.
You just described three of them.
Sir, I'm
What's the
going
third
by,
one?
sir, because I would like to give you all the information, and we have a vehicle, it's called Special Hazards 3, and is a pickup truck.
Okay.
That we use it to plow, and we also use it to tow a trailer.
Okay, so I got it. Now I understand
Yes.
too.
So I want to make sure I'm giving you the accurate
I understand.
information. Yep.
So of the two that we have now, is this new vehicle replacing one of the two that we have now?
Yes, sir.
And
The
that
number one.
vehicle is how old?
13 years.
13 years old. And how much did that vehicle cost?
We've tried to find out exactly how much it cost. The vendor that we purchased it from went out of business. We've tried going through it's Spartan Crimson, so the cab and chassis is built in one location and the body is put on by another. The company that puts the body on has gone out of business. So we have, speaking to the company that we purchased it from, the manufacturer is no longer in business. They were unable to get us the record. They did estimate it was around $500,000 to $600,000 at that time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to hold until January 9th. I'll make a motion we hold till January 9th. Need a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it is going to be PCR 18918. And the request is for the department to meet with the administration. The request, Chief, is for the department to meet with the administration and have a conversation or further conversation on what we discussed here this evening to a common goal, okay? Thank you. 2019-184, found on page 52.
Good evening, Commander Brad Connor with the Police Department. The department...
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, Commander.
Sure.
Page 77. Go ahead, Commander, I'm sorry.
The department is requesting spending authorization under bid number 2019-184 to purchase portable radios. Traditionally, as you're aware, the department typically uses the state MPA 395 for this purchase. We decided this time, however, to try to go out to bid and see if we could get a better price. The bid, we did go out to bid. We got one bid from Cybercom Communications out of Colorado Avenue in Warwick. That one bid was for $32,918 for 10 portable radios and 4 800 megahertz radios. They did match the state MPA, so we didn't get a better price in that aspect. We are asking for the total purchase to come out of 30-271 portable radios.
Commander, I recall not that long ago we awarded a significant amount of monies for these portable radios.
Correct.
So how is it we're coming back to us again looking for $33,000, and was this less than a year we awarded out?
Nope, just over a year. June of 2017 we purchased 35 portable radios at about $75,000. The prior year we purchased 25, and then in 2015 we purchased 10. We currently have approximately 205 radios. Sounds like a lot, but 30 of those radios are still from the 90s. So the ones that we're going to replace now are literally from end of the 90s and early 2000s. We still have 60 portable radios that are from 2005. So when you figure you have to support an 175-person police department and also have backup radios, it's prudent that we make a purchase of anywhere between 10 and 30 radios a year versus having to buy 175. So yes, we have purchased radios every year, but that's just keeping with the tradition and trying not to try to keep the cost low.
How many radios did you say you have right now?
Right now we have 205, but like I said, 30 of those are from the 90s and are probably being used as parts.
So that leaves you at 165.
Correct.
And you are looking to bring on how many radios now? How many was this for?
It's 10 of the APX 4000s. Those are the standard UHF radios that the patrolmen carry, or everybody carries. We're also trying to buy 4 of the 800 megahertz radios. Those are radios that we would use to communicate through other jurisdictions. We don't issue those out one per person. We do have them in the patrol cars to be used during emergency situations, and we try to keep at least 10 to 15 in headquarters in case we had an event that we had to communicate with other agencies. So we are looking to replace 4 of those.
And what's the warranty on these radios?
I believe, actually, I don't have that information. They are, we usually, well, they say we get 10 years out of them. I'm looking now for the warranty.
Yeah, I see the life expectancy, 10 years, okay.
That's different.
And these are typically the radios, the Motorola radios that department's been using?
That's the industry standard. Okay. Yeah, that's the radio we've always carried, and that's just about what everybody has in the state. I don't know of another radio that
Any problems with them?
None at all, no.
Any difficulties when you do have a repair or maintenance? Any difficulties getting that done?
No, they're right in Warwick,
Okay.
and we have a
It's a Warwick vendor?
Warwick vendor, absolutely. Cybercom, out of Colorado Avenue.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Commander. 2019-185, 192, found on page 83, police personnel uniforms.
Police Department did go out to bid for our annual uniform bid. This is the first time in over 2 years that we actually got some bids back. We did receive 4 bids. 2 bids were qualified to provide actual uniforms. The other 2 bids were for the motorcycle helmets only. The current bid that we do have, I will admit, is expired 12/11/18. The last bid was for 2 years. This bid would be for a 1-year bid for $45,000. We are requesting that the bid be awarded to Barney's Uniform out of Cranston Street in Cranston. However, they were 2 categories that they do not provide uniforms for, those being animal control officers or jailers, and those are 2 contractually mandated purchases that we have to make. Rhode Island Uniform does provide those. Barney's Uniform was the lowest qualified bidder, though, on the items that we purchased the most of. So we'd like to leave Rhode Island Uniform on the bid for those 2 categories, if that's approved. Also, for the motorcycle helmets, we're requesting that the bid be awarded to Russ's Ocean State Harley-Davidson out of Warwick. The total award for the bid would be not to exceed $45,000 for 1 year.
Okay, so Commander, just I want to clarify, because you know how the committee has, how we feel about these
Yes.
2, 3, 4 bids. So just to clarify, Rhode Island Uniform and Supply is going to be only for 2 items that Barney's Uniform does not provide.
Correct.
That's it. And then the helmets, because Barney's and Rhode Island don't do helmets, is going to go to Russ's Ocean State Harley.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
I have a motion favorable, I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Commander. 2019-2003, found on page 97, Ford Police Interceptors.
The department is requesting spending authorization to purchase 4 Police Explorer Police Interceptors. These are year 2018. Over the past several months, we lost 4 of our first-line police cars due to accidents. After totaling all 4 vehicles, we did recoup $50,176 in insurance proceeds. We do have an open bid for 2019 Explorers. However, those are unattainable. Currently, they are not accepting any more purchases for the 2019s. The 2020s, we cannot order them until May, so we're kind of in a pinch. What we did do is we did some research and went out to regional vendors that provide police cars and found that there is one vendor, MHQ, who still had an inventory of Police Explorers 2018 model year. What we did was we were able to ask them to hold 4 of them till we got approval from council to make the purchase. They did provide us with a price totaling $131,405.24. Our goal here is to buy these stock interceptors and then use the salvaged equipment out of the total vehicles, all the police equipment, the radios, the computers, the lighting, everything that we could strip from them and bring them to an independent upfitter and have those made into police cars. We did see a savings. For instance, we did get a bid back today, having gone out to bid for upfitting, and they gave us a price of $3,264 per vehicle to upfit, compared to a $16,000 bill that we're getting with the 2019 cars. All that savings was due to the fact that we were able to salvage all of that equipment and also buy an older model year, not use a new car, and have that upfitted independently. So if this is approved, we would request that $131,405.24 be utilized with lease purchase funds.
Commander, how much are we saving by buying 4 2018 vehicles? Let me back up. First of all, it was, I know, back in April or so, this council approved the purchase of 7 vehicles.
Correct.
When the year before, you had asked for 14.
Correct.
and we worked it out where we could live with 7.
Yes.
We could live with it, you could live with it.
Until we crashed 4 cars and lost
Till you
them.
crash 4 cars. Well, somebody else might have some questions about the 4 cars. My question is about the money. So how much are we saving the taxpayers by ordering 4 of these, or by buying 4 of these vehicles that the tires are on the ground now, are readily available to us, as opposed to having to pay the 2020 cost because you tell us we can't buy a 2019. I wish I had that much business that I could say, can't take no more orders for 2019. How much?
About $48,000.
$48,000.
Correct.
That's on the 4 vehicles.
Correct. That's because we're using older equipment.
So instead of coming to this council and asking for 4 super duper 2020 vehicles that we'd all like to have a 2020, you can easily make the 2018 vehicles work and save the taxpayers $48,000.
Correct.
Works for me. Any questions from members of the committee? We'll go to this councilman first.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commander, there were 4 different accidents?
Yes.
So the 4 different accidents, without going too deep into it, they were while on duty, obviously. Were they at the fault of the other?
It's a mix.
Excuse me?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
Yeah. 3 of them were paid out by the trust and 1 was paid out by, I think, Nationwide.
Oh, okay. 3 were paid out by the trust. And if you don't mind, was one of it done doing the duty of a police officer? Like, let's say, like, you know.
All of it, yes.
All of it.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is trying to, like, if it was now, of course, pit maneuver and stuff like that?
No, well, no. We don't do pit maneuvers. We were
All
crashing into other cars on purpose. These were car accidents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the trust was able to get that. So now, historically, and this is for the future, I'm noticing we're doing a lot of SUVs now.
Yes.
What's the transition from SUV to auto? Is that a mission that the police department has, or is it options?
Ford's discontinuing the Taurus.
Right.
Yes, so in 2020, the Taurus model is not going to be available. Bottom line, police departments weren't buying them. Civilians weren't buying them. Police weren't buying them because they were too small.
Right.
Guys couldn't get them. Once you put in all the equipment, gun racks, prisoner transportation cages in the back, computers, they were just too small. And the SUVs provide more safety, more headroom in the event of a crash, and just more space inside.
So that seems to be the transition that's going on, especially nationwide, is that
Absolutely.
they're all
we
going?
did extensive research prior to ordering the 7, looking at Dodge Chargers, looking at Chevy Impalas, anything that wasn't an SUV. And the cost would actually have been more in order to get like a Dodge Charger with all-wheel drive, would have been about $6,000 more than an Explorer. So
Wow.
it's still, the Ford still makes the most economical product out there, and it's just a bigger frame.
Okay. Thank you. I think you answered the questions. Thank you.
Councilman McAllister?
Yep, thank you. So, Commander, these 4 are replacing 4 that we already had on the road, so we're kind of 4 down right now. And I just want to point out again that you are saving the taxpayers money on these because you're salvaging what you could from the 4 cars, so we not totally have to start from scratch for the new ones and stuff like that. Get us back, and this will get us back to whole, and hopefully no more accidents. So, yeah.
Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-2004, found on page 102, police recruit medical examinations. Commander?
The Police Department is requesting spending authorization under 56-6, exception to bid, to award a bid to Midland Medical of Oak Lawn Ave and Cranston to provide medical testing for police recruits prior to being hired and sent to the academy. The price that we've gotten from Midland Medical is $210 per applicant, and we are required to send them for much like the psych test. We are required to send them to a medical examination. Again, like the psych test, if you recall, we typically haven't had to go to council because the dollar amount hasn't exceeded. But we are here now in a time when we're putting anywhere from 8 to 10 on every 6 months. So obviously we're exceeding the max. So we are requesting money not to exceed $3,570. This would come out of budget code 30335, and this would be from a 1-year period commencing date of authorization.
So, Commander, this particular medical exams, the reason that they're having to be paid for as opposed to healthcare paying for them is because these individuals are not employees of the city.
That's correct.
Which I need to make that clarification for other conversations. And that's an important point. They are not employees of the city, and contractually, or I should say, it's our, is it a policy or a requirement that the city pay for that exam, that pre-exam?
It's a policy. I don't know that it's a requirement anywhere, but.
Okay. Why is this 56.6?
So that is a good question. I asked that question about 6 to 8 months ago, wondering why we hadn't gone out to bid on these, and I was cited Title 45, Chapter 55-14 of Rhode Island General Law, which states that the procurement of any service of an attorney, physician, or dentist by a municipality is exempt from the provisions of the chapter.
Okay. And why is Midland Medical, who is a Cranston company, why have they been selected as opposed to one of our Warwick entities?
I can't answer that. I know we've used Midland Medical for decades.
When do these exams need to take place? When will they start taking place?
Some of them have already taken place for the recruits that were going into the academy, and some will be taking place probably in the March-April timeframe.
What do you mean some have already taken place? How'd you pay for them?
They haven't been paid yet. Once we got the, typically we were paying these on vouchers. Once we got the dollar amounts and conversed with purchasing and realized we were going to be going over, that's when we decided to bring it in front of the council.
So are you saying these exams that you've already had done were authorized under a 56.6? Because they didn't come to us.
No, they were, I don't know how to explain this. They were done without authorization because we were under the $1,000 limit. And then once we went over, purchasing caught it, brought it to our attention, and we decided to go out.
And these new ones are not being done to March?
Excuse me?
These new ones you're talking about are not going to be done to March?
We can halt any ones that haven't been done now.
Okay, so we've got some things that questions that need to be answered.
Sure.
By the testimony that was just given here. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? I need a motion to hold until January 23rd.
Motion to hold January 23.
Second.
Need a PCR? 190-18. So, Commander, we have a motion, we have a second. Before I move the vote, I just want to put it on the record that the reason I've requested to hold this is because of a concern that I have that exams were ordered, exams were done without approval of the council, and we don't know if they were done through a 56.6 or how they got done. But that I need to know, okay? And that's it. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2019-207, training, new Munis software modules, found on page 107.
Phil Carlucci, MIS Director.
Yes, go ahead, Phil.
This request is under City Ordinance 56.6, exception to bid due to sole source, to be awarded to Tyler Technologies in the amount of $8,850. This request would provide us the on-site training available from Tyler Technologies, enabling us to start to gain returns on our investment in the Munis ERP system that we already own. One of the charters I've been tasked with by the current administration is to find efficiency improvements and other cost savings available to us by putting into practice the automation available to us from this software. The first step in improving this is by assessing where we are, where the greatest benefits are, and what training we need and able to start to utilize them. So I respectfully request your approval, and I'm ready to answer any questions you might have.
So Phil, first of all, I just want to put it out here that I just find it amazing that we learn in this bid that monies have been in place for whomever knows for 5 days of Munis training, and under the previous administration and the previous director of MIS never spent the money, and even worse, never did the training. I mean, MIS has been listening to this, listening to me, as well as probably all of my colleagues on the city council for a very long time about this ridiculous Munis thing and the errors and all the other issues that we have with this program. And now we find out we've had 5 days of training when we've been hollering about this forever and it was never done. I mean, that just blows my mind that those kind of things were taken care of, or were not being taken care of. Fortunately, we have a new captain on the ship. And fortunately, these things are now being discovered, and the Solomon administration is digging into them daily. It's just bizarre. So, having said that, Phil, you and I today, we spoke about some of the numbers and some of the costs. And one of the things that made no sense to me was the $5,800 that this company, Tyler Technologies, is looking for to shuffle a few folks down here for training. We're talking 10-day training. And by the way, good job on negotiating the 10 days at an additional 35% discount. It certainly would have been even better if the previous director would have been doing some of that stuff. But we're looking at this, and I'm saying this is bizarre. $5,400 for doing this training. So why can't we condense this stuff? And we pretty much concurred with that. And then you took it and you went back to the vendor. You know, some folks say, oh, we can't go back to the vendor. The bid's already out. Well, we can ask for quantification of things. And you did that. And tell me where we're going to go with this because of what you did.
Well, by your suggestion, I did go back and I did my own calculations. They have a travel policy which they provided us. It refers to the government standard on per diem account. I went back and looked at it. By my estimation, if we did some consolidation, as you suggested, of the training, we could probably come in at about $3,000 worth of travel as compared to the $5,400. They had given us, with all due respect, it was a not to exceed number, but I think the rationale they told me they had used was they took a national average and they gave it, that's a $1,300 a day national average. We, being in proximity to them in Maine, should certainly be below that.
So, Phil, as I said in our email communication, the majority of the taxpayers in the city of Warwick who are paying the bill for this stuff, they don't stay in the Hyatts, and they don't stay in the high-end hotels, and they don't go to the high-end restaurants. We're talking about people who are paying the bill. And I don't expect them, and I know my colleagues on the council don't expect them, and I know the mayor doesn't expect them to be paying for high-end stuff when people are coming here to train our workers. So, having said that, we're going to be looking to modify this from, you know, and it's not just the 2,400 here that really gets me worked up. It's the fact that we've got something in our bid package that says, based upon, you know, our, how we come up with all these crazy numbers, Well, I don't see anything in here, that tells us, well, this is what we use for our training, travel expenses. So we're just supposed to take it and look at it and say, that's okay? No, it ain't okay. So we're going to be looking to amend this to have a number of $3,000 for travel, which is going to, that's dropping it down 2,400. So 6,450 is the number we're talking about, correct, Phil?
Yes, sir.
We agree on that number?
Yep.
Okay. 6,450. That includes the travel and, wherever they're going to stay and wherever they're going to dine. And by the way, Phil also, after our conversation, had these condensed into not 10 one-day visits and pay people to travel back and forth 178 miles each way for 10 days. What you did was you had that little chit-chat and say, we're going to do like 3-day trainings. Okay. So, any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from the members of the public? I need a motion first to amend this award to $6,450.
Make a motion to amend this award to $6,450.
Seconded.
Okay, Phil, I need the breakdown for the $6,450. You got MIS professional, 34. Okay, we're gonna. So never mind. I got it. So we're going to be changing the 5,440 to 3,000.
Correct.
Okay, so that's how the amendment is going to read. It's going to be 3,450 for code number 25360 and 3,000 for code number 25301. We have a motion. We have PCR 19118. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Phil, and thank you for doing that due diligence. We appreciate the effort. So do the taxpayers. I'm sorry. We need. Thank you, Councilman. So that is unanimous on the amendment. Now I need favorable on as amended.
Favorable action on PCR 19118 as amended.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable as amended. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. 2019-208 network connectivity, found on page 115. Phil?
If it would please the committee, I would like to make a little historic explanation about this in the following bids. That'd be okay.
Please.
I once again find myself in the unfortunate position of coming before this committee and council to present an unfavorable situation from the past that requires your attention and consideration. In October of this year, a couple weeks after I had started, I was preparing a bid request for authority to spend additional budgeted funding for the network services, and while doing that, I started to discover that there had been a number of anomalies in how my predecessor had processed these budgeted expenditures in relation to the process stipulated under the city charter. Upon further review, I discovered that as of August of 2017, a number of expenditures in the network and telecommunication areas, while within the department's approved budgetary limits, were processed seemingly without council approval. In analyzing how the expenditures were made without having a verification against the related bid, we uncovered a process which, while necessary to accommodate certain types of expenditures for the city, had no provision in it to accommodate those expenditures requiring a drawdown from a bid. Immediately after discovering this and bringing it to the current mayor's attention, working with the finance director, they instituted changes which will prevent this from occurring in the future. While I have been able to determine an estimated dollar amount, which are included in the cover letters, I feel strongly that further analysis is necessary. This request before you, as well as the 3 others that are to follow, is a request under city charter acceptable practices to set a delineation point and request approval for expenditures going forward. This will allow us to continue to provide the critical services supported by this infrastructure to the city, while at the same time allowing us to do further analysis on exactly what transpired between August of 2017 and my discovering the situation. This first request is a 56-6 exception to bid due to sole source in the amount of $782,500, with the award being split between Cox Communications in the amount of $692,500 and Crown Castle Fiber in the amount of $90,000. The purpose is to cover data communication needs for the city. The start of the request would be December 1st of 2018 and would carry us through November of 2021. I respectfully request your approval, and I'm ready to answer any questions as best I can.
Phil, once again, I have to commend you for your due diligence in another discovery, and we have, I believe, 3 others.
Yes, sir.
Of the same substance. We're talking about the same thing. And I just want to reiterate that, once again, we have significant issues of things that have taken place under the previous administration and under the previous director, and a director that left the city's employment in July, I believe it was.
October.
Excuse me?
October.
October. The previous director left in October. Okay. And now all these things come to light, and they're serious. And very expensive. And we have a situation here where we cannot, this committee and the city council, we cannot shut down the city. We cannot shut down the telecommunications. We can't shut down the internet service, the telephone service, network connectivity, etc. The city has got to continue to run. And I think what's particularly important here is what has been disseminated to me and us in this report is that, and I'm going to read it, a further and more detailed audit of those expenditures will be conducted to determine a proper course of action. This request would follow the legal process as stipulated by the city charter going forward for the stated period. And I have confirmed that with the mayor. And that works for me. We know that the MIS department and the Solomon administration is going to be doing everything that they need to do within their powers to come to a conclusion and a finalization as to what happened here, how did it happen, and you already, and the mayor has already instituted a process to prevent this type of thing from reoccurring in any department in the future. So my position is we don't have any choice. We have to continue to have the city operate. We cannot be shutting down the city. And I am perfectly comfortable in knowing that the mayor, along with the MIS department and any other people that the mayor deems necessary to conduct this investigation, audit, whatever you want to call it, will be done. Any questions from members of the committee? Sir.
Just to highlight on that again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you know, this is a major thing. So I commend you for bringing this forward to us. We need to keep the city going, and I'm very happy that you are going to get the straightening this department out, which is critical to the citizens here in Warwick. I mean, the chairman, he talked about, I mean, this is the internet, this is the computer systems we use, you know, everything is connected, and that we need this. And I'm very happy that the mayor has instituted a new policy regarding this, so this doesn't happen under his administration, and he's a detail-oriented guy, and these are major things that was happening in the previous administration, and I'm glad to see that we are straightening out, but, I mean, these are very important things that were just kind of brushed aside, and there's a reason that we need policies like the one that the mayor is instituted, and I look forward to working with you, Director, and the mayor and this council to right this ship.
Thank you, Councilman. One thing we'll all agree with is we definitely have the right person in that corner office to fix all the problems that have been inherited. Any questions from members of the committee? Any more questions? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, and need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Phil, if there's no objection on your part, no objection on the members of the committee and the council, I don't think we need to regurgitate all the same stuff over and over because it's all the same. It's the same. Okay? A mess is a mess. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members? This is on item 2019-209, and that is found on page 119. And that is the award of $450,000 for Cox Managed Telephone Service. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-210, found on page 121. Again, same issues, same circumstances, same due diligence done from the corner office and MIS. Any questions from the committee, from the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-211, found on page 124. Same issue, same items. Any questions from members of the committee? That is for $78,000 in Verizon wireless communications. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Phil, we certainly will be looking forward to hearing more from the MIS department as well as the mayor as to how this is all progressing.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on. Okay, once again, just give it to me on the report. Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item PCR 9417, bid number 2017-147, hold till, I'm looking for a motion to hold till January 23rd.
Motion to hold to January 23.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Bid number PCR 14817, motion to hold till January 23rd.
Motion to hold January 23rd.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. PCR 170B-18, various pots for sand and salt spreaders. Matt?
Matthew Salitro, Department of Public Works Director. We're asking for passage of bid number 2019-131, various pots for sand and salt spreaders from Tri-Power Services.
So, Matt, first I want to just state for the record that you and whoever staff you've had assigned the task of bringing to us the numbers that we need, the list prices, the discounts, the net costs, etc. You've put a lot of time into it, and you have provided us with that information. We have that information for the various pots, sand, and salt spreaders. We have an extensive bid from Tri-Power showing thousands of pots and list prices and discounts and net costs. This is how we need to do business going forward. And this is the cooperation that we need to have between the department heads and this finance committee, and you know what? Things just go along very well. So thank you for getting us the information we need. We are now in a position to make an intelligent, informed financial decision. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favor. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Finance committee is adjourned at 6:25. Thank you, everyone.
Councilman Corley, ready for ordinance? Councilman Ricks, we're going to be hitting one of your things in ordinance.
No. Hit the tricycle. What's that? Is that your Christmas wish? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. The time is now 6:26. Ordinance committee is open. Motion for acceptance of the minutes of November 26, 2018.
So made.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Item number 1, PCO 18-15, Neighborhood Improvement Program, an ordinance that will make landlords responsible for the cost to pick up debris left on the street by tenants. This is not drafted. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold January 23rd.
We have a request to hold till January 23rd. Motion made.
Made. Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 2, PCO 21-18, an ordinance to amend Section 4-13, Keeping and Feeding Wildlife. This is for first passage. Councilman Ricks.
Hold it to February 4th.
At the request of the sponsor, make a motion to hold to February 24th. Is that the date?
4th.
February 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The time is now 6:27, and ordinance committee is closed.
January, second meeting in January. Yeah. Donna, it'll also let... What? No. No, the meeting that Jeremy just held his to was February 4th. Oh, February? Yeah, February 4th.
right, what are we doing here? Intergovernmental. Wait a minute, what time is it? 6:20? Is it 6:20? It's 6:20, right?
We're gonna wait for Steve.
6:20, okay. Minutes or something? 3.9 is good. I gotta be in college.
This was the kid I worried about in high school. She was off the charts when she was in grade school.
That's good.
Incredible talent.
Mints. You have any mints?
No,
When I... He's going to give them away, probably. He's probably got a pocket full.
No, I got it.
He's looking to give them away. I got to be in college. I got over it. What?
No, we have one more. We have...
Yeah, well, go get him.
McAllister.
Like, intergovernmental, what's going on?
Right now, it's...
Oh, honey.
Right now, it could explode.
I just wanted to interrupt the committees before we start the next one to introduce our senators, Michael McCaffrey and also Ms. Erin Lynch Prada, Mrs. Erin Lynch Prada, to give a citation to one of our council members who's retiring and has been with the city since the early 70s, I think. It was a 47 years. Who's counting, though? And I'll turn the microphone over to them.
Thank you, Council President. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be here this evening to honor Joe Gallucci for his years of dedication to the City of Warwick, not only as a councilman, but for years he served in the Board of Canvassers office. And anyone who ran for office, he would welcome you into there and tell you what to do and what not to do and help you out as much as you can. And he's going to be sorely missed on the council. There's an awful lot of institutional knowledge that's going to disappear come January. However, I think Joe will still be around if people call him and ask him some questions. He'd be willing to help them out. I do have a Senate citation here, but I'm going to let Senator Lynch Prada say a couple words before we give you the citation.
Thank you so much, and thank you for indulging us. I know we started before the meeting started, and I just wanted to come to congratulate Joe and to thank him for all of his years of service to the city. Every single time I see Joe, he yells at me for not voting for him or supporting him when he ran for mayor. I remind him consistently that I was 6 years old. It doesn't matter to him at all. But again, I just want to thank him for his service. This is a huge loss to the city. Joe has always been an absolute dogged advocate for the citizens of the city of Warwick, and we truly appreciate his service. So thank you for allowing us this indulgence. We apologize for interrupting the meeting. As Council President Marola said, we often make you guys wait for us, so we appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do have a Senate citation here, and if you can bear with me for a minute, I think we owe it to Joe to read this to him for his years of service, but it says, State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation, Senate citation, be it hereby known to all that the Rhode Island State Senate hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to you, Councilman Joseph Gallucci, in recognition of your years of loyal and dedicated service to the city of Warwick and your many constituents. The entire membership of the Senate extends its very best wishes to you on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued good fortune in the future. And this citation signed by Senate President Dominic Ruggiero, myself, and Senator Lynch Prada. Congratulations, Joe.
Let's get a nice picture.
Thank you. So we only have a few committees left. We'll resume those and then we'll start the council meeting if Councilman Corley is here.
I call Intergovernmental Committee at 6:37. First on the docket is the acceptance of the minutes for December 3rd.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Number one on the docket is PCR 15318, a resolution requesting that the Department of Public Works study abandonment of a portion of K Street. Councilman Ricks.
Request to hold to January 23rd.
Move that we hold it to January 23rd.
Second. It's been requested to hold to January 3rd. It's been second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 23rd, yep. And I close intergovernmental at 6:38.
I have Ward 8. Or Ward 5. Ward 8? Who's 5? Oh, 5's over there, so that's 9, right?
Joe, get your microphone. You're taking it home. You two, from here on now, you can talk to us from your house.
Thanks a lot.
This is for finance. You just don't know. What? That's our job.
Somebody does. This is mine. I'm 9. This is his 5.
Yeah, nee. Cool. Sure.
Stuff. Oh, we still got stuff on silver, but like, he called me today, Freitas. He said he's got another family.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I said, well, I don't have the key, so I gotta wait, get Beverly. Beverly had it.
Oh, all right.
She was waiting for people to pick up. And she did leave a message on my cell phone that people picked up today, because when I left at 4 o'clock yesterday. Me and her left at 4 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Well, 3:30. Around 3:30, but it was 4 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
And we were down to 6 families to pick up. So that wasn't bad.
No, but where were they?
I know. So she called them all up today, then she left a message saying all 6 came in. So that was good. Hi.
I do.
All right. Good.
Councilman, how you doing? Good. You? Not bad at all. Merry Christmas to both of you.
Yes,
Thank you very much. You too. How's it going?
So far.
Excited? She's going to teach me the ropes.
That's right.
Good for you. You're in good hands right
That's
there.
right.
I know.
Yeah. I gotta say hi to Donna.
Oh, you relaxing now? Well, I suppose. I'm still running around. My father's been in and out of the hospital. My mother-in-law's been out of the hospital. Crazy. Crazy. There's absolutely always something. There really is. There really is.
That's the tiger.
What's that?
That's the tiger.
How are you? You'll have friggin' colds hit me again. You'll have lingering colds whacking me.
I know. Everybody's sick.
I told Paul, I said, I don't have enough energy in me to go to cellos, man. I just don't, you know. I want to go see Caruso. What's cello? Go see Caruso. Good seeing you. Good seeing you.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Hi, Tom. Excuse me, Merry Christmas to you there. Councilman, nice to see you. Thank you. Hi, Joe. Raymond. Good to see you.
Oh, that one? This one? Found a military person there. Is it true you were in the military with him? Is it true you were in the military with him? He was outside. January 8th. No, somebody asked me if you were a lawyer. I said no. Back then, a lawyer could be working for the state. You don't want to get one of those part-time no-show jobs. You don't have those anymore. They didn't have any when I was there. What's going on? I don't know. Secret. Yeah, I'm not on that inner circle, you know? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. 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 To me, that's easy. Yeah. How's your agenda look? Easy? How's your agenda look tonight? Easy? Yeah, that's good. We got a meeting tomorrow night. It's going to be the same thing. Quick. How are you, my friend? There we go. Good to see you. Hey. I haven't seen you since Saturday. How's the kid doing from South Carolina? Is she back yet? She doesn't want to work for years. Oh. How's the other guy doing? Is he like it? Good to see you out and about. Yeah. No, I don't. We used to work at the post office. There you go. How's life for hands? Everything going? Oh, yeah. My kids are all good? Yeah. Any grandkids? Lots of grandkids? Yeah. Bless you. I know. Okay. Yes, I do.
If everybody could take their seats, please. Jim, did you want to grab a chair and sit up? Okay. City Council come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola.
Here.
Mr. Corley. Mr. Galucci. Mr. Howe.
Here.
Mr. Lattiser. Mr. McAllister.
Here.
Mr. Ricks.
Here.
Ms. Travis.
Here.
That's 8 present.
If Mr. McAllister, Councilman McAllister, could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You can be seated. First, I wanted to wish happy holidays to everyone and move on quickly with the agenda. There are no executive communications. There are general communications. And we do have one colleague that has pretty much worked in every branch of government during his career, and tonight is his last night as a councilman on the Warwick City Council. And we have a few proclamations for him. First, I think I am similar to Senator Aaron Lynch Prada, because my family knew Mr. Gallucci, Councilman Gallucci, for many, many years. And I, too, was a kid. I can remember when my dad first ran for school committee in the 70s, and being out at the polls in Councilman Gallucci's ward, and being left at the polls as my family celebrated at the house, and the Galluccis came by, and I eventually got a ride. So back then, their family was even saving me back then. I think I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. But in all seriousness, Councilman Gallucci has worked not only in the military, but for and with state and local government. He's been the council president. He's worked in senior services. He's worked at the Board of Canvassers, as we all know. And he's worked pretty much in every single department. When I first decided to run and become a councilman, I talked to my dad, and the first person that he said to talk to in the city of Warwick at the time was Councilman Gallucci, who was at the time working for the city. And so we went and had lunch with him, and his advice was invaluable and great advice because that election in the fall I won. And I listened to a lot of what he had to say, and it certainly was a lot and appreciated. Over the years, I think all used Councilman Gallucci's knowledge of what had occurred in the past. I think one of the history professors that I listened to most always used to say that history repeats itself. And when you have a resource like Councilman Gallucci, and he can tell you actually what happened in the past, you can really prevent and not relive mistakes in the past. So to say that he's going to be sorely missed would be an understatement. I think not only is he a valuable resource to the city, but he's also a friend to everyone. Whether you, or in my case, whether I agreed with a decision or I didn't agree with the decision, he was a person that moved on to the next issue. It was all a debate of ideas. It wasn't, I can't remember him saying a bad word about anyone. And that's a quality that is to be admired and commended, and also to be emulated by other future generations and our council and future politicians, especially in today's climate where it's all about the other person and not about the idea that you're talking about. So with that said, I truly wish him congratulations on a well-deserved retirement from politics, but we all know he'll always be close. And he'll probably still be at the door of City Hall at 6 a.m. like he was when he worked at City Hall. I did want to call on a few people at this time to wish congratulations. I first wanted to call on Mayor Solomon to come up and say a few words, and I know he's here with a proclamation.
Thank you, Council President. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge everyone here this evening to honor Joe on his final day in the council, in the City Council. From the House, I guess the Senate was here earlier this evening. I missed them, but they came to acknowledge Joe and his fine works. But unlike you, Council President, I'm not going to miss Joe Gallucci. I'm not going to miss Joe Gallucci because Joe Gallucci and I are very, very dear friends. Joe Gallucci has always been a confidant of mine. I've bounced off with Joe Gallucci on many issues. I've known Joe Gallucci for a long time, pre-politics. Joe Gallucci was my father-in-law's best friend. He was there when my son, Representative Solomon, was first born. He was at my wedding, my marriage to my lovely wife, Cindy. Joe was there. Joe was an extension of my family. And he always will be an extension of my family. But I'm not going to miss Joe Gallucci because I look forward to each and every day that I'm in office for Joe Gallucci to stop by my office and participate in the Solomon government. I look for his advice. I look for his guidance. I look to bounce ideas off of him. So his duty in public service does not end on the City Council. His duty to this community will continue. This long journey of his duty started in the military, where he served with General Marola. I don't know, is that a relation of yours? The late Amadeo Marola, the council president's dad. And that was probably one of his first active duties, but he came from a family that provided a lot of services and committed to this community. His dad was the former police chief of the city of Warwick. Imagine growing, I know what it's like for young Joseph to grow up being my son. But imagine growing up and having your father the police chief. You had to walk the straight and narrow. And I understand he was a tough guy, and he was a very honorable guy. So Joe has been cultivated in a community and a commitment to government. He served in human services. He served at the Board of Elections. He served at the Department of Business Regulations, the state of Rhode Island. Joe has been committed all his life to public service, but he earned his living in the private sector at the same time. He was able to balance the two. But one of the most important virtues of Joe Gallucci is his compassion. His compassion to the for the community, his compassion for his friends, and his compassion to his family. Joe is has always been dedicated to all those things. And that's something I will miss. I will miss, because the whole community will not be exposed to that compassion directly as they have been, because Joe's going to kind of take the behind the curtain. I'm going to call him Oz. He's going to be my Oz, because I'm going to go to Joe for advice. But really, Joe, it's been an honor to serve with you. It's an honor, a gift to have you as my friend. It's an honor and a gift to have you as part of an extension of my family. And I look forward to many, many years working with you in this great city to make it even better. And I wish you well in your future endeavors. And I have a little proclamation, which is nothing compared to the heart that I give to you for your years of service.
I know that there are further resolutions from the state, and I believe Representative Bella Wilkinson has a proclamation that she'd like to give to Councilman Gallucci, so I'd invite her up.
Better get up there.
Thank you very much, Councilman Marola. Council President Marola. Mr. Mayor, esteemed members of the Warwick City Council, my brother in the House of Representatives, Representative Joseph Solomon, it is my distinct pleasure this evening to recognize the leadership and the humanity that has been shared by the Gallucci family and Joseph Gallucci tonight. I'd like to begin first by reading a citation that comes from the Congress of the United States of America, House of Representatives. This is a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to the Honorable Joseph Gallucci, Warwick City Councilman, in honor of your more than 40 years of distinguished and exemplary public service to the Warwick City Council and for the residents of your district. Congratulations on your retirement and best wishes for health and happiness. Signed December 17, 2018, James R. Langevin, Member of Congress. Councilman. Councilman Gallucci, it is also my pleasure to provide you with the Certificate of Special Recognition. Be it known that I, Gina M. Raimondo, Governor of the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, wish to commend Councilman Joseph Gallucci for your dedicated service to the City of Warwick and your constituents. In honor of your many years of devoted public service, I am pleased to issue the Certificate of Special Recognition. You have my best wishes for your continued success. Given under my hands and the Great Seal of the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, The 17th day of December 2018, signed Gina M. Raimondo, Governor. Councilman Gallucci, you had the opportunity to serve your country as a leader and holding the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. You showed your leadership in the City Council holding the title of Council President. But whether or not you ever held a title, you'll always be a man of influence and a leader in the community in the great city of Warwick. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Representative Vella Wilkinson. If I could call on Representative Solomon to read a proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the City Council, especially Councilman Joe Gallucci. I am honored to be here today to recognize Joe Gallucci, who's been a longtime friend since the day I was born. I've known Joe. And you've been such a close friend to me and my family, and I thank you for everything. I thank you for the words of advice. I thank you for all the words of knowledge that you bestowed upon us. And I know my grandfather, Walter Santos, if you were here today, he'd be so proud of you for everything that you've accomplished and everything that you've done. You've represented the citizens of the city of Warwick, especially Ward 8, so well over the years, and you've been a friend to so many people. And I'm honored here today to present this resolution from the Rhode Island House of Representatives, from the Warwick delegation, signed by everybody to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Solomon. Obviously, the council has a resolution also. I think it's probably best if all the council members come up, even the council members elect, if everyone could come up, and then I'd ask Councilman Lattisaw to read the resolution, and also if council members want to bring their mics up and want to make a statement, I can give them mine. That's fine too. Councilman Lattisaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I read the citation, it's so fitting to be here today to honor you, Joe, the councilman who represents that part of the city that represents 37% of the taxes now, somewhere thereabouts. Joe, you've been truly a mentor to me. I remember a lot of the conversations very well with you. Started out very early on when you said you have to knock on every door if you want to win this election. So as the council president said, you've played a role in an unbelievable amount of elected officials, not just in the city but in the state, because of your willingness to lead, your willingness to help. You never once ever said to me, this is how you do it. It was always a suggestion. It always came from the heart, and it came from the experience and from the history that you amassed over the years. So to say that the respect is abounding for you, sure is an understatement from me and from everyone else. And one of the famous Gallucci sayings that I will always recall is, yesterday is a canceled check. Today is cash. And tomorrow is a promissory note. And you, sir, have a lot of promise going forward. I'm sure you're going to stay plenty busy, and you're going to stay very much involved in continuing to make the city of Warwick a better place to work and live. Thank you very much, sir. Hold on 1 minute.
Just getting his glasses.
Okay, we have a resolution of congratulations from the entire City Council and Mayor Solomon, Mayor of Warwick. Resolved that whereas Joseph E. Gallucci, City Councilman, Ward 8, who did not seek re-election to the Warwick City Council, is being awarded this recognition as a testimonial of loyal and dedicated service. And whereas Joe served as councilman of Ward 8 from 1977 to 1984, 1990 to 1994, and again from 2015 to 2018. He served 6 years as president pro tempore, as well as council president from 1983 to 1984, and again from 1991 to 1994. And whereas Councilman Gallucci has served admirably on many subcommittees of the City Council and most currently served as chairman of the Appointments Committee. He has served on the board of the Kent County Water Authority for many years. And whereas Councilman Gallucci has been a strong advocate for the people of Ward 8 and has sponsored many resolutions and ordinances regarding issues affecting the people of Ward 8 and the city of Warwick. And whereas Councilman Gallucci has faithfully and conscientiously served the city of Warwick and its citizens, during which time numerous projects were initiated through his leadership and which will continue to have a revitalization and growing impact on the city of Warwick. And whereas Councilman Gallucci has earned the respect of other civic leaders and the admiration of a host of area residents, he will be missed both professionally and as a friend. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the mayor and the city council wish to congratulate Councilman Gallucci for his meritorious service, loyalty, and dedication he has rendered to this community, and wish him continued success in all his future endeavors. The city clerk has directed and forwarded a copy of this resolution to Councilman Joseph Gallucci. Councilman Gallucci, congratulations.
I know Councilwoman Travis wanted to.
Yes. When I started many, many years ago, I was the young kid that just started on the council, and Joe was council president, and we got the re-election again. So he was my mentor, and it's hard to believe now that he leaves, I'll be the senior member. So that's kind of like weird. But through all those years, you guided me, you showed me the light, you told me, very nicely where, I don't care what question it was. And we had a joke, and Gloria Fairbanks and I had this little joke, and you know what it is, because I came in on a Republican ticket. The mayor was Mayor Chafee, and then, of course, after that, we had Mayor Avedizian. So Joe was my little mayor, my little Democratic mayor. Now we got Joe Solomon. But for all those years, Joe, and I always called him my little mayor, and not because he's little, but because he was in the background, he was my friend, he was my mentor, and he was the guiding light that no matter what subject it was, it could be water department, it could have been sewer authority, gee, who do I talk to? Where do I go? Oh, just do this and don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And we had we laughed together. We cried together. We had good times. And I will miss you so much.
So I know that I've already spoken, Joe, but I know your family's in the audience, and be remiss without recognizing everybody from Joe's family that's here also. But you'll always be part of the city of Warwick. You are part of the city of Warwick. We're always going to rely on you, and we're going to rely on you in the last council meeting here too. But we look forward to working with you in the future, and obviously our doors are always open for advice and your wisdom and knowledge, and we appreciate your service to the city of Warwick for almost 50 years. Thank you very much. What's that? Okay, I know some members of the public wanted to speak too, but they had signed up. So why don't we return to our desks, and we'll finish with general communications. Are there any other general communications? Okay, there's other people that I know that wanted to speak if you wanted to sign. We have before public comment, we have the acceptance of the minutes from the council meeting held on December 3rd. Could I just have a motion for favorable action? Favorable action, Councilman Lattisaw, seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. All those in favor of the minutes of the meeting from December 3rd, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? So the ayes have it, and the minutes stand approved. Now we'll move to public comment. Under Rule 41, after the general communications and prior to the consent calendar, at each City Council public hearing meeting, there will be a 15-minute period during which citizens may comment about Warwick City government issues subject to the following stipulations. The total period of time for public comment shall be 15 minutes. Comments need to be brief in order to allow as many citizens as possible to participate. The topics of comment shall be issues directly affecting city government. City council members will not respond to questions during the public comment period. The public comment session will terminate at the expiration of 15 minutes. Waiver of this provision requires unanimous consent. And we have how many members? And we have 3 members signed up, so they'll each get 5 minutes. And the first person that signed up is Daniel Hart. Daniel?
Good evening. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Councilman Gallucci.
Yeah, you have to speak directly into the mic and very close. There you go.
I'd like to say thank you to Councilman Gallucci. I'm happy that I ended up coming here tonight to speak. Otherwise, I would never have known and never been here to see all the wonderful awards given to you, sir. Briefly, I just wanted to bring to the council's attention an issue that at the end of Winter Avenue in Ward 4, we're trying to get the pathway to the beach restored, and we've been running into a number of issues, and I just wanted to make the whole council aware of the fact that a seawall was built across the path that the neighbors had used for years. I myself have used for 28 years to get to the water. So I just wanted to present that and make everyone aware that there is an issue with that, although I did have a moment to speak to Mayor Solomon, and I understand he is working on that. And so,
thank you.
Thank you.
Patty St. Amand.
Good evening. I wanted to speak just briefly with regard to you, Councilman Gallucci. Your leaving marks the end of an era at City Hall. Those who spoke before me detailed your history and your accomplishments. I, however, want to speak to you about the personal attributes I was witness to. You were my first boss in the city. We met on October 14th in 1997. You were a man of great stature and controlled the room as soon as you walked in. Your voice was low and almost quiet, which made me lean in closer to hear your every word. After we got done with our introductions, I remember you asking me a question. You said, "What are you?" And being the political novice I had no idea what you were referring to. And so like I was on a game show, I jumped up and I shouted, "I'm Catholic." You started to laugh and laugh. I knew that we would be a great team and good friends forever. And then you asked me where I was in 1984. 1984 may not have been such a good year for you, but it was a wonderful start and a great relationship that you would have with the city for so long. You always had a smile on your face, and there was never a problem we couldn't fix together. You were the wisest man I ever knew, and I learned so much from you. I heard many stories about 1984. What all of us have gained from your magnificent stories about the city of Warwick are amazing. Not only have you shared the political history with all of us, you have shared the culture and the community sides as well. You knew everyone and they knew you. Most important, Councilman Gallucci, you knew the most vulnerable in our great city and you provided for them. You believed in taking care of the less fortunate. You believed in providing for our seniors. You believed in helping all of your constituents by maintaining their dignity and self-worth, by building people up and not down. You were a quiet man, so no one but a few of us would really know how you help feed the poor and provide for all of us. You believe in honor and sacrifice. You believe in family and community. You believe in compassion and grace. And you believe in loyalty. Your virtues have taught me well over the past 21 years, and I thank you for giving me the greatest memories and life lessons. We are all better people because of you. I love you, and I'm honored to call you my friend.
Michael Zarum.
Hi, good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council, members of, well, actually, Mr. Mayor and his staff who are here this evening. I want to thank everybody first, before I speak, for just coming together tonight. I congratulated Mr. Gallucci when I came in. I'm going to congratulate him again in public. Thank you very much for your many, many years of service, and we hope to see you more as time goes on and hope that you stay involved in providing advice to all of us. One of the things I've noticed here this evening, now that the election is over, that I haven't seen, I've seen before, but I've seen more of it tonight, is a lot of mutual respect for everybody. Everybody in this room coming together to support each other, respect each other, work together, and collaborate together. And I'm very glad and happy, again, congratulations to Mr. City Council President, Mr. Marola, and to Mr. Solomon on winning the election as mayor. And the camaraderie that I see here tonight in working together, mutual respect, listening to each other. We all want to solve a lot of the problems together, and we have to work together, and I see that tonight. And as a resident, it makes me very, very happy, and I hope that continues, so thank you for that. The thing I want to speak and address to tonight is an item that was on the agenda that got delayed until January, the Phragmites project, which is actually on state property. And I just wanted to address some of the facts on that, because this is really the first time I've had a chance to come before City Council. I did appear before the Finance Committee back in April, but I don't know if a lot of my comments made it to a lot of you. And with that, my background, Mr. Marola spoke out that hopefully people will listen to me because of the impact we had with all the airport issues back from 2004 to 2012. And just briefly with that, what we did, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do with the Phragmites. In that case, we all got together, we passed a resolution to put legal money aside, drafted a resolution to challenge the FAA record of decision. Through Mayor Avedition, we had a legal selection committee, of which Mr. Solomon at the time was President of City Council, appointed me that committee. We interviewed 12 different law firms, some of the best aviation environmental law firms in the country. And we put together a strategy. I also had input in working with legal counsel from Natural Resource Defense Council in Washington, also provided me with advice on strategy, and we pulled the whole thing together and it worked. When the petition got filed in the appeals court in Washington, a lot of labor got upset, and I promised them they would get more work out of it, not less, and that's what happened. We also at the time told the Airport Corporation that the environmental mitigation work, because of the proximity of the wetlands that are so dear to low-lying coastal Warwick, Rhode Island, would cost more than the runway extension, and in the end, now that the runway's built, it's true, what I told them back in 2004, the environmental mitigation would cost more than the runway is now a fact. But what we did basically forced everybody to the table at the state level, at RIAC, at the state level with DOT, as well as the Department of Administration, as well as the FAA, forced everybody into a negotiation for community benefits agreement that ended up in over $100 million worth of benefits for this city, including homeowners, with date certain buyout plans on their homes and a lot more. And with that, for that committee that we had then, the Legal Steering Committee, I also want to thank Mr. Marola, as well as Representative Camille Villa-Wilkinson, if she's still here, for her help with that too. Because that committee, that just proves that how we can all put our minds together and work on things together. But we need a strategy that is going to work, and that one did. And I want to repeat a strategy that I feel will work. And that's with the Phragmites that have grown in Bucky Brook, that are mostly on state of Rhode Island property. Personally, myself, with my engineering background and the work I've done, believe that it is causing water to back up and elevate in Warwick Pond or Warwick Lake, whichever you prefer. Not excessively, it's not an emergency, as some people would say. It isn't a FEMA flood zone, but it needs to be taken care of. Along with that, there's been habitat destruction. Our beloved buckeyes, the river herring that swim up from the ocean every year and spawn. Buckeye Brook is one of the few river herring spawning runs in the state that doesn't have a dam. It's free-flowing and has been for decades. And also the whole area is written into the Warwick Comprehensive Plan. The habitat in there is one of the most important things in the City of Warwick's Comprehensive Plan, and we need to protect it. Now, what I'm going to jump to next is, I think we all agree we need a solution, but who's going to do it? I appreciate the City of Warwick stepping in, but it's a complicated site. There is a Superfund site out there. There are reasons why RIAC and DOT haven't wanted to touch it. It's going to be very expensive, very complicated to do. And once you start to dig in there, if they start scooping up buckets of PCBs and everything, depends on who's in charge, may have to continue. You don't know what the cost limit is. Why the city would want to take on that liability, I don't know. When I spoke back in April to Finance Committee, I asked that the city do legal due diligence on that, both on the city council side, the legislative side, as well as the administration side, because there should be agreements with all the parties involved on who's really going to do this. My own personal views to make this happen, it should really be done at the state level. There's also a city ordinance that says if there are any blockages in a stream like that that impact water flow, it's up to the property owner to remedy the situation. And again, it's not DOT, it's the state of Rhode Island. And so with that, I just want to ask that we all continue to work together. And I know Mr. Roller and I will be speaking about
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is announcement of appointments. There are none. Announcements requiring confirmation. There are none. Move to the consent calendar. Is there anyone here from the Department of Public Works regarding the presentation and engineering, or we were holding that? I believe we were holding that. That's going to be held to the second meeting in January. So now on to the consent calendar. Appointments requiring confirmation, there are none, and so with the consent calendar, PCR 18818, a resolution relative to bids. Committee report, Finance.
Committee reports, excuse me, favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
I move favorable action on PCR 188-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe. Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
Bid number 2016-231, State of Rhode Island lamps, favorable action. Number 2, 2017-045, Rescue Service Administrator, favorable action. 2018-167A, favorable action. 2018-167C, Original Equipment Manufacturers Parts, favorable action. 2018-168, Various Auto Replacement Automotive Parts, favorable action. 2019-174 has become PCR 18918. 2019-184, portable radios, favorable action. 2019-192, police uniforms, favorable action. 2019-203, police Ford Explorers, favorable action. 2019-204, police recruitment medical examinations becomes PCR 190-18. 2019-207, training new Munis software has become PCR 191-18. 2019, 208, connect network connectivity, favorable action. 2019-209, Cox Managed Telephone Service, favorable action. 2019-210, State of Rhode Island Telecommunication Services, favorable action. 2019-211, State of Rhode Island Telecommunication Services, wireless, favorable action.
Thank you. I know it's been moved and seconded. I just wanted to comment on a few of the items and say thank you to the Finance Committee members, Councilman Lattisaw, the chair, and also Mayor Solomon and his staff, and in particular, the new MIS director. It seems like every day that goes on, there's something else that this administration uncovers with its new department heads, and they keep moving forward. Again, with the old administration not bringing things to the council. I know we discussed it, or the Finance Committee discussed it during their hearings. I know some council members were here to listen, some council members were not, and some members of the public were able to hear, and some members were not. But here again, we have another instance where expenditures exceeding $100,000 were made without authorization from this council during the previous administration. And it's disheartening, it's infuriating, and I can't thank the administration enough for its hard work in reviewing these things, and all the council members, in particular the finance chair and the finance committee members, for looking at this. And then again, as the chair pointed out and the finance committee pointed out with regard to bids, going out to bid and getting pricing for parts. It seems like that would be a no-brainer, if you will, because when you're applying a discount to a value you don't know, it's very difficult to make a recommendation on what's the best value. And again, the Finance Committee continues to ask the tough questions, continues to hold things. And I know on one of these bids, within 90 days, we'll have a new bid and get those questions answered. It's frustrating for this council member when, and it's also part of the job, to listen to members of the public or politics talk about expediting things and not understand everything that council members do and what the administration does. The amount of time that this part-time legislative body spends attacking all these issues, asking questions, getting documentation, working with experts. And I have served with 3 council members over my tenure, and I know Councilwoman Travis has too, that have lost their businesses because they spent so much time on city council work. I'm a big boy, and so are the other council members. But to suggest, imply, or come right out and say that this council is not doing their job, or this administration is not doing their job, is a complete falsehood, and it's insulting to all the people that we work for and all our constituents that we work for. I can't be more proud of the 2 years that I've served on this council, what we've accomplished, the questions that we have asked, and how we pushed forward in the face of continuous comments, both positive and negative. It was funny, my dad always used to say a long time ago that if people on the left and people on the right are criticizing you, maybe you're in the middle. Maybe you're where you need to be, because in government we're always trying to find that perfect balance of what is right and what isn't. And we're not perfect, we'll never be perfect, but this council and its members over the last 2 years have worked extremely hard, including the mayor. They've never stopped working, and I know the new council members are never going to stop working either. And I just thought, although not too many people heard or listened to what the Finance Committee was doing tonight, I couldn't be more proud of the work that they're doing. And I just wanted to point out and acknowledge the significance of what the city is faced with, and how the council will continue to tackle those issues in the administration. I know that negativity sells papers and gets things on the news, and it's great from a marketing perspective. But from this councilman's perspective, when you're accomplishing the things that are in the press and you're accomplishing things that aren't in the press, boy, is that a successful day for all involved. So with that said, are there any other comments? I know that it's been moved and seconded on the consent calendar. Are there any other comments from council members? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Corley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yeses.
PCI 188-18 stands passed. First item that was removed from the consent calendar is bid number 2019-174, which is now PCI 189-18. Is there a recommendation from Finance?
Finance Committee recommends holding PCR 189-18 until January 9th.
Held till January 9th. Next item on the bid is, on the bid package is bid 2019-204, which is now PCR 190-18. Is there a recommendation from Finance?
Recommendation to Finance Committee is to hold PCR 190-18 until January 23rd.
Held till January 23rd. Next item on the bid calendar is bid number 2019-207, now PCR 191-18. Is there a recommendation from Finance?
Favorable with an amendment.
For action, Councilman.
Move favorable on the amendment for PCR 191-18, which will change the award to...
So why don't we get a second? So you're going to move PCR bid number 2019-207, which is now PCR 191-18, for favorable action. It's seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman Lattiser. I know you wanted to move an amendment.
The amendment would be to change the monetary award to $6,450. The monies will be split between Code 25360 in the amount of $3,450 and 25301 in the amount of $3,000 for a total of $6,450. And the committee recommends favorable action on the amendment.
Okay. So the amendment's been moved. It's seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussions on the amendment? Is there any discussions on the amendment? Any questions? If not, the clerk will call the roll on the amendment. A yes is for favorable action on the amendment.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
It's 8 yes.
The amendment stands passed. Councilman Lattiser, if you can move it as amended.
Move favorable action as amended on PCR 191-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe. Councilman McAllister, any discussion on PCR 191-18 as amended? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
And Ms. Travis?
Yes.
It's 8 yes.
PCR 191-18 stands passed as amended. Next item on the agenda is under unfinished business, and it's PCO 1815 Neighborhood Improvement Program, an ordinance that will make landlords responsible for the cost to pick up debris left on the street by tenants. This is for first passage. It's not drafted committee report ordinance.
Request of the sponsor hold until January 23rd.
Held till January 23rd. Next item on the agenda is PCO 2118, an ordinance to amend section 4-13, keeping and feeding wildlife committee report ordinance.
Request of the sponsor hold till February 4th.
Held till February 4th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 9417, bid number 2017-147, State of Rhode Island telecommunications service installation and parts. Committee report, Finance.
Hold January 23rd.
Held till January 23rd. Next item on the agenda is PCR 14817, bid number 2018-143, installation of sprinklers at the Cooper Building Drill Hall. Committee report, Finance.
Hold January 23rd.
Held till January 23rd. Next item on the agenda is PCR 15318, a resolution requesting that the Department of Public Works study abandonment of portion of K Street. Committee report, Intergovernmental.
Hold till January 23rd.
Held till January 23rd. Next item on the agenda is PCR 170B18, 2019-131, various parts for sand and salt spreaders. Committee report, Finance.
Favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Committee recommends favorable action on PCR 170B-18.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister and Councilman Howe. Any discussions on various parts for sand and salt spreaders? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
PCR 170B-18, 2019-131 stands passed. Move to unanimous consent. Ward 1, anything for unanimous consent?
Pass.
Pass. Ward 2?
Pass.
Ward 3? Pass. Ward 5?
Pass.
Ward 6?
Pass.
Ward 7? Pass. Ward 8?
Pass.
Ward 9 passes. If we could have Councilman Gallucci move us.
Move to adjourn to the docket session.
Councilman Gallucci moves to adjourn to the docket session, seconded by Councilman McAllister. Councilman Howe. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Move to the docket session. Ward 1, anything to docket?
No.
Pass. Ward 2?
One item. A resolution requesting that the Rhode Island Airport Corporation consider additional factors in its 2019 14 CFR Part 150 noise study.
If I could be a co-sponsor on that, Councilman, and that would be intergovernmental. Okay, and anything else in Ward?
No other items. I believe that Councilman Howe wished to co-sponsor as well.
Councilman Howe, anybody else wish to co-sponsor that on the Part 150 study? Councilman McAllister and Councilman Lattiser and Councilwoman Travis on the Part 150 study. Okay, we'll move to Ward 3.
Yep. Sorry, Mr. President. 2 items, Mr. President. Increase RIAC's pilot payment to the city of Warwick.
Okay, I'd like to be a co-sponsor on that. Co-sponsor, anybody else want to be a co-sponsor? Councilman Lattiser, Councilman Ricks, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman McAllister.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll go to intergovernmental.
Thank you. And the second item is RIAC disclosed to the City of Warwick the annual payment received by the New England Patriots for the use of the TF Green at the home airfield.
Okay, that would be intergovernmental. And Councilman Ricks would like to second that, and Councilman Lattiser would like to second that.
Thank you.
Okay, Ward 5, anything? Anything to docket? Pass. Ward 6?
Pass.